Now is absolutely the best time to talk about DoorDash. As we roll into 2021, there's going to be massive changes, not only to the company itself, but to you as a DoorDash Dasher. And some of these changes are coming as soon as this week. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. This channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. It doesn't matter if you're watching this in 2020 or 2021, if you're a new Dasher, if you're considering signing up to drive for DoorDash, these are some pretty big changes. I'm going to go over a few things again that are changing this week, some things in the overall marketplace, some things that affect you as a Dasher, and then again, some market behaviors, some more macro level insights. So number one of the biggest changes, and a change that's expected to happen tomorrow, is DoorDash going public and you being able to invest in the company with public stock. In doing some research on this company's IPO, that's an initial public offering, I've really seen two sides. Of course, the bullish side, the more optimistic growth side, and then the opposite, of course, and the factors that are determining that growth and those projections. For instance, I want to show you one source here. This one from Business Insider. We can see here really a scathing review of this upcoming IPO from CEO and founder of New Constructs, David Traynor, noting that this initial public offering really holds no value and the company may never be profitable. Traynor continues here, it could be one of the largest US tech IPOs of the year. Of course, we're already in December here, and continues the most ridiculous IPO of 2020. The article continues that DoorDash's revenue grew by 268% year over year in the third quarter here in 2020. But Traynor cautioned investors against expecting further growth, especially if a swiftly deployed coronavirus vaccine sends people back into restaurants. That is something that I was thinking about when it comes to this IPO here. This article, this time from CNN Business, really states the same thing, is that DoorDash has seen, and really moreover, these food delivery apps have seen incredible growth here in 2020, but perhaps is that large growth, is that big push here, especially year over year, like we saw a 260+% growth in DoorDash, is this really solely fueled by the pandemic? Now, this article continues here, citing high fees that delivery services charge restaurants on orders. And of course, even from the customer end, there's more delivery fees. Now let's move over to this Fortune article, because again, this IPO, this initial public offering, is expected for tomorrow on Wednesday, December 9th. And we can see here really that big December IPO month here. We have Airbnb expecting to IPO as well. But at DoorDash, we can see the status there. Pricing starts December 8th, that is today, and then trading tomorrow, December 9th. So when trading starts tomorrow, what's the price going to be at? Well, back to the Business Insider article, we can see here, these IPOs are actually increasing their initial public offering starting price here. So DoorDash, $90 to $95 a share in filings last Friday, after initially targeting, we can see $75 to $85. So let me know down below in the comments, is this something you're following? Are you looking at purchasing some of this IPO, this stock, when it does open up for trading? And moving back to you as a Dasher, really on the operational side here, let's think about the actual market share that DoorDash has. So if you're a driver and DoorDash has the biggest market share, they're beating everybody. They're beating Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates. That may mean more orders for you because DoorDash is the most popular as far as the consumer end, as far as sales in the food delivery space. So they have the largest market share. Now let's keep an eye on the Uber Eats and Postmates acquisition that was approved this month and is expected to close either this month or of course Q1 of 2021. But now let's look at really the DoorDash Dasher platform itself going into 2021. Now, I'm just one driver here. I'm speaking from my experience since really 2015 in this gig economy, and of course, talking to drivers like you. But let's look at the trends of what we've seen here in Q4, at least what I'm seeing here in San Diego on the Dasher platform. Now, as you're probably aware, there's two different bonus incentives, really two main bonus incentives on the Dasher platform. There is peak pay and there are challenges. And then lastly, as another maybe rewards program, there is the Top Dasher program, which gives you the option to really dash now at any time, regardless of demand, and whatever market segment that you're in, if you qualify for Top Dasher. But right now, I just want to focus on the actual concrete pay bonuses, mainly on peak pay. So again, I'm coming to you here in San Diego, California, and I've noticed, perhaps let's say months ago, that peak pay, that per delivery bonus, in the market segments that I typically drive at, let's say, $3 to $4.50. Now that may seem high, but that's not really the takeaway here. The takeaway is in the last few weeks, maybe in the last 2 weeks, let's say, I've been noticing lower peak pay in those same marketplaces where I typically drive. So I know on average, at least in the summer months ago, that marketplace would have the $3 or $4 peak pay. Well, in the last, let's say 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I've seen now $1.50 to $2.50 peak pay. I've seen that especially echoed in the Los Angeles market with drastically reduced or perhaps even completely eliminated peak pay. I've been reaching out to you. I've seen in the comments here that some marketplaces are also experiencing lower peak pay. So this is something that you really need to know, especially going into 2021. Is this something that's just setting up the IPO? Is this something just seasonal for Q4 here in 2020? Or is this something that we're going to still see in Q1 of 2021 or Q2 of 2021? So if you didn't know, DoorDash has over 1 million Dashers. So if you're a current Dasher, or again, if you're considering signing up, these changes all affect Dasher pay if it is the lowered peak pay, or the challenges, if the challenges come to different market segments, or different rewards programs like Top Dasher. Because what I've seen over the years is there's different pilot marketplaces. So like I mentioned, I first really heard about this up in Los Angeles, really that sharply decreased peak pay and really next to zero peak pay. And then maybe not surprisingly, a month or 2 months after that, I started to see that hit here in San Diego. Now, one thing to consider as we're talking about lowered peak pay, and maybe something that'll help curb any worry here, is I've found that I can still average a strong gross revenue per hour. That's really the big thing. It's really irregardless of how these companies lay out the pay systems itself, is can I still make a strong gross revenue per hour? So for the time being, I can. But lastly, let's talk about the overall market behavior going into 2021. So let's go back to the CNN business article here, because right here we can see dealing with this pandemic landscape, and again, going into 2021 with the perspective of an effective vaccine. This article states, the vaccine rollout signals what could be the beginning of the end of the pandemic, and with it, yet another shift in demand. For Airbnb, that's one of those companies that expects to IPO this month. The question is how much the end of the pandemic could boost business and food delivery. Companies like DoorDash, the question is how much the end of the pandemic will hurt it. So put simply, the end of this pandemic may help some companies like Airbnb, but it could hurt others like DoorDash. Which goes back to the idea of if you buy in to the IPO, if you buy into this stock in December, is it going to have the same valuation, the higher valuation, or is it going to really go down sharply in Q2 or Q3 later into 2021? So there's a whole lot to consider for the future of DoorDash as we really round the corner here in 2021, or whenever you're watching this video. So I invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Join the team here because there's obviously a whole lot to watch in 2021 and honestly beyond in this food delivery space, but really moreover in this gig economy. So if you got value in this video, definitely drop me a like, and you can also click or tap the screen here for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.